And Robert's Rules does say that we're required to have minutes of the actions taken by the body deliberating. And if we are required by law to have a transcript, a verbatim transcript, then let it be there and don't spend a dime more of Nancy's staff or anybody else's to tweak it. If the law only says we have to have that transcript on record, fine, there it is. Anybody wants to come in and spend 5 hours, make their day, reading through stuff where the machine is not intelligent enough to know where to put the commas and the pauses, it's there and hopefully would comply with the law. I would love, as a member of this panel, to have a succinct two-pager with the actions taken, the decisions made, the significant items that when we're done with a meeting and we come at the next meeting and say, now what the heck did we do? What did we really do during that last meeting? We talked a lot, but I don't know if we accomplished anything. I would like to feel that when this panel is done, that we have made a positive contribution in partnership with the tax office to enhance the credibility and all the other good things about the tax office. That's why we're here. And so I'd like to be able to see through minutes recording the actions taken by the group instead of wading through a transcript, which I will never do again. It just it wasn't worth the time, nor the time of staff to try to do that. It's an impossible task. So that would be my plea to don't spend any more time.
Okay, so let's see if others want to say something.
Great.
What's the answer from?
So let's just, in terms of the legal framework, what's our scope of possibility here?
Good morning, Corporation Counsel Craig Masu, Deputy. You could do either, actually. What you have to do is you have to preserve the record of the actual ongoings, so which would be the verbatim recording. Whether you just transcribe that or not, or whether you do it by the actions taken, is up to the body.
Okay.
But I see what you're saying, though. I think you have to also consider, too, though, that you have to be very careful in making your actions clear, because it's not going to be really fair on our clerical staff, whoever's doing the minutes, to try to decipher what was an action and what was just a discussion item.
Okay, that's a good point. Sir Al, and then Bob?
I agree with Mr. Hussey. From a public standpoint, also, to read 63 pages of a minute is like, it's not really beneficial for the public side, and for us to spend that time and paper to print out these things, if we can get it in a format that was suggested, that would be really, really beneficial. I belong to a condo association, and the minutes are drafted in a sense where it follows Robert's Rules. Just basically the motion, explanation of the motion, and then the vote. And that makes it really easy to understand.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Kind of interesting. Yes, I took the time to read the minutes, and there were some corrections. And I was going to ask if it made a difference, for instance, on page 13 of the minutes.
Oh, Bob, can you move your microphone toward you? Thank you.
Okay. On page, 13 of the minutes, the third paragraph, I was talking about dollars and cents, and the dollar signs were missing off, which I didn't think was that important until I get down to the fourth paragraph and the dollar sign was put in. And I wondered how much of a problem for somebody that is not sitting here, I know I'm talking about dollars and cents, but for somebody else to read these minutes, what would they consider that if the punctuation isn't there? That was the first. And then there was other spots on the minutes, and excuse me, I'm just going to go to one more on page 17, paragraph 5. I was speaking again, and part of what I thought I said was just to changing one word. I think that they need to be one of the same as what's printed. And I thought I said one and the same. They're just very minor, but they mean, when you're really reading through, they mean quite a bit of difference if somebody from the general public was reading it. And I know that in the past with Bill 160, I was reading that, and for all the pages I read, I could follow all the way through what that committee was doing 20 years ago. And I was just concerned about what was going to happen now with these minutes. That's all I had to say.
Okay, so, yes,
May I just add one more thing? I feel strongly that it's an impossible task for anybody to try to take that transcription because it's garbled, it's not clear where people were headed, and if the law requires that be of record, again, leave it alone. And the definition, one of the definitions of minutes is simply to describe the events of the meeting, starting with a list of attendees, a statement of the issues considered by the participants, and related responses or decisions for the issues. And the Robert's Rules allows, by a standard part of every meeting, the approval of minutes. If people have omitted something, misstated it, if the transcriber hears something incompletely, which is totally natural, then a panel member or a member of the public, or no, not a member of the public, but we can say, whoops, this is not what we intended, and I want to amend the minutes as follows, and then we vote to approve it, because it's minutes which we can modify, as opposed to the transcript, which is, you know, it is what it is, period. And you can't modify it, and court counsel's right on that.
okay. Yes, and would you like to state something? Okay, so you turn yours off and I turn mine on.
Oh, I'm sorry, is it one at a time?
One at a time.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify what Mr. Price stated. If you didn't say, for example, you just said $5,250, and you didn't say $5,250, it wouldn't be transcribed with a dollar sign, because we take it as you say it. And versus or to or whatever, it's exactly as you said it. So we're not going to change your grammar or anything like that, because it's verbatim. So
let me see, I think we're all in agreement. I don't think we need to belabor this. I entertain a motion that we have the tapes for what, if anyone wants to hear them, and that we go to sort of an action-oriented what happened at it, and if the transcriber or the minutes taker has any question, can put something in. If you're not sure, put it in, and let it go at that, and not have to do the full. Yes, would you like to say something?
Yeah, that's fine if you want to do that motion at this time. I was just going to say it'll be subject to us verifying, because this just came out of the blue, so I want to check on it first.
Yeah, and it may be that we ought to be, I don't know that we need to hold it over to the next, would we need to wait and put this on the agenda, that we're changing how the minutes? I assume not, but if you have a problem with it and want it, feel that that's a substantive issue, that we would...
Given that the minutes, the actual transcript is still going to be preserved, I don't think you need to hold it over. Say if we have to redo it, and just, instead of having action-oriented minutes, and if the case law and the research says, well, no, you have to do verbatim, then it's still there. So that's
Okay,
fine.
so are you saying that even if we do just basic minutes of outlining what actions we took or.
No, sorry, what I'm saying is you don't have to hold it over.
Yeah, okay, we don't have to hold it over. Will someone still need to transcribe it, or will just preserving the tape be sufficient?
That's going to be part of the research we'll do.
Oh, okay, so I
May I
think for
speak?
right now, what we're saying, what we feel that we would function most effectively and most efficiently is to have actions taken oriented minutes.
You understand, though, that that does put a significant burden on whoever's doing the minutes, right? To try to decipher what is an action item, what is just discussion. So you folks have to be very clear, and you can have to really make sure everybody speaks into the mic and speaks only one at a time. And I think Ms. Crawford had a statement.
May I
Yes, go
speak?
ahead.
I feel, the county council created this task force and gave the responsibility to support the task force to the finance department. And we are doing our best to support the task force. We started out doing summary minutes, which involved what really involves was taking the whole full transcript, transcribing it, and then sorting through, trying to pick out the highlights and intentions, and summarizing those actions. And if you go back, like in our November minutes, you'll see that they're very summarized and consolidated. But as these meetings became longer, and it did take a lot of time, and the transcriptionist is being asked to pick out what's important and what isn't, and try to put that into bullet points or whatever. So it was under my direction that, as we got to starting actually, like with January, when that we just took the verbatim minutes. I understand that those aren't nearly as useful, and we would, I think we will try to help do something that's more useful to you, but my request would be that it be more like action minutes and not be that you are asking of us, because I mean, quite honestly, conversation circles and rambles here, as is natural. That's no criticism. That's part of the process of this task force discussing various subjects. But it is sometimes difficult to conclude when we actually have had a motion and ultimately a vote, and you can kind of pick that out of the earlier minutes before
Okay,
we start.
so
things.
if, other than doing attendance or public statements, and I think that in terms of public statements, it would be helpful to have those included verbatim
Right.
or more.
Right.
But in terms of our actions, if we have an agenda item and then we come to what the motion is, what the topic is, we specify we're clear on what's being voted on and how we vote and what that action is, and then we just go right down each of the items in that way. And that you or anyone else, I mean, if there's any staff that thinks that we're not, haven't made it clear and what we are taking an action on, I think that would help. And then we're not
would
getting
help.
into sort of what I'm saying, and I'll open it up, is that we're not adding in and what else was important or eventful or significant. It would be basically action. And defining a motion, and what the results, and making sure we have the wording correct on what we're voting on. And I think that's up to us to articulate clearly so that we're not getting into that gray area of, now, was this really significant on a particular point? So if anyone disagrees with that, I would appreciate hearing it. And the only qualification is I do think in terms of public statements that the public is not weighing in on this, and that we ought to allow that to be a public statement to be verbatim or to the best of our ability.
Madam Chair. I concur. I think it's important to encourage as much public input as we can get. It's been sadly lacking, in part because I think we have not been very clear about what our goals are and what we're trying to accomplish, and we need to move it to that kind of decision phase. We're getting there, but I'm concerned about the time that the finance department has to spend. And if it were possible to have, going back 1,000 years, somebody in the room with the agenda, just during that process, doesn't ever touch the transcript, doesn't come close to it, because it's just a nightmare. I would hate to have that job if I were working in the finance department, to figure out what this group said at any given point in time. It's ridiculous. And a waste of everybody's time, and the final product can't be satisfying to anybody, and those who tried to put it together or those who are trying to figure it out after it's put together. So if we did have somebody that just did that, here's the agenda, and here's how and we will make an attempt to be very clear about the direction we're trying to go and the positive difference we're trying to make, so that whoever's out there saying this is what we're trying to do, say, okay, that's item number 2, and this is what somebody moved, somebody seconded, and this is the action taken, and whatever else would fit the definition of the classic minutes, which we then can approve as a group, modify as appropriate, and be sure that it reflects the record, and then we go on.
Okay. So, I'll just speak to Nina and Nancy. I mean, I don't think we have to have somebody different. We're just doing it, and Nina can have her recorder on and taking down what the actions are. We don't have I don't see any reason to have somebody else doing something.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go right ahead.
But no, I agree, and I appreciate, I think that if we can, reach this compromise of what the expectation is, and I understand what you're saying, one of the things also is that really as we get into, in another month or so, Nina's going to be very occupied with the Real Property Tax Board of Review and be less available to us for this meeting. My secretary, Erin Nassas, is going to be here, and she will be assuring that we are getting recordings. And at the same time, I think, given the discussion we've had right now about what the expectation is of the content of minutes, I don't see any reason that we cannot provide that.
Okay. Yes, Bob?
I just want to say that I thank Nina for clarifying. If I don't say dollars and assume that, then I shouldn't assume that the dollar signs are going to be put in the minutes. So I've got to be very clear on what I'm saying, when I'm saying it, as part of trying to help, because I understand trying to read and type from the transcript. It's hard, extremely hard. I'm not sure why they haven't invented speak and type yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Al, would you like to?
Yeah, I think, from the standpoint, the minutes are approved, the previous minutes are approved on the agenda for the following meeting. So we would have the opportunity, if it was not clear, whoever made the motion can amend the motion to make it much clearer, or correct the minutes.
Okay,
That's it.
okay. I'd like to move this along, and I think the main thing is that we're not going to have to be going through all of this. We'll just have, here we are, the proposed, item 27, and I think we should be clear on our agenda item exactly what it is, and then we have that item, and then we have what the vote is and the clear, and all of everything in between. Anyone in the public can come in and ask for a copy of the the disc, get a CD, or and listen to the whole thing. It's not unaccessible. But I think the main thing is honing in on, so our communicating with, whether it's Lisa or Aaron, and that they feel if they're unsure of something, raise your hand, like Nancy, stop us, or Corporation Counsel if you have an issue, and let's just work through this and do it. So I think that unless Corporation Counsel comes back to us next time that we have to revote on this, I'd like to entertain a motion that we do action oriented minutes, and I think that would also involve being maybe a little clearer on the agenda. So Bob, would you like to make a motion and
Well,
state
I
it?
thought we had a motion on the
Do we do?
floor
Have a
already.
motion and a
okay.
second.
And
Can you read the
second.
motion back? Because I think this is the way we make
There you
sure
go.
we're saying what we want to say.
Well, motion was to approve the minute, which was by Mr. Inoy and Mr. Price second.
Okay.
Correct.
And can we maybe withdraw those and make the motion, how would we do that? We can approve the minutes as we have for this time.
Well, the maker of the motion could withdraw the first motion, and then we could substitute another motion.
Okay, well, there's two things that still has to be, there's two things that you should consider. One is that's how come it's very important that whatever is going to be discussed is discussed based upon what's on the agenda.
Right.
So it helps the person who's going to do the minutes. It also helps them focus on what is going to be an action item. In this case, is a prime example of how we're kind of going away from the agenda as far as how the minutes could be taken, although it's still covered under general discussion of minutes. So sunshine law has not been violated, but you have to make sure that whatever we're talking about has been noticed and the public has a chance to weigh in and appear if they choose to, okay? What you have before you right now, though, is just action on the minutes itself from
Right.
the meeting of March 20th, 2014. That still has to be done. If you folks want to continue on with that particular motion, which has been moved and seconded, and you're still in the discussion phase, unless you have changes that you want to make to the minutes that's been provided to you so far, my suggestion is you take that action and then we move forward from there,
Yes.
Question for Corp Counsel,
instead
if I
of
may?
withdrawing.
Clarification, can we make amendments to the verbatim transcript?
You can,
You can add a commentary saying, well, what I meant was, what was your thing?
Bob?
No. Your statement earlier about you meant it of and not a part of or something like
And
that.
instead of all.
Yeah, then you can add that kind of commentary, and it wouldn't be so much a correction, because the correction is going to be exactly how you stated it, unless it was misheard or something like that. So like for Bob's thing is, well, when I said $514, I meant $514.
Okay.
it's just on,
I'll call a
Okay.
question. Call a question.
yeah, go ahead. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And just before we leave this subject, I think that I don't even think we need take an action to allow the finance department to do more action, simplified minutes, rather than a full, based on the transcript.
Second.
So can I have a motion to amend the agenda so that we put on the agenda the form of the minutes? Second?
Yes. You're talking about the next meeting.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, first, on this meeting, we're amending today's agenda so that we can handle this matter. And we're doing this partly because it doesn't affect a significant part of the public, and that would allow us by a 2/3 vote. And is that a 2/3 vote of those present or those on the committee? It doesn't really matter. And then we have it on the agenda, our amended agenda, and we can vote on it.
I'm sorry.
Discussion at this point.
Yeah.
Is that?
My question was, we can amend the agenda
Sometimes. I'm trying to, because
Like
Would-
2/3 vote. You need a super
without the
majority.
public knowing, so we can add.
If it's not a matter that's deemed to be of significant interest to the public, majority.
I think this qualifies.
I think that this would be a benefit to the public, right? Because it'll make it much easier for them to understand.
Okay, it doesn't matter, I'm sorry, if I may interrupt, Madam Chairman. It doesn't matter if it's a benefit or not.
Okay.
It's just a matter of if a significant majority of the public would be interested in the topic.
Okay, that answers my question, thank you.
Call a
public
question?
isn't interested,
So
why are we doing
we're just going to have a motion to amend, and I think we did have it, Al, and then you were second. So all in favor of amending?
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman,
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
it's 2/3, you need a roll call vote.
Okay. So let's,
Al Inoy, aye.
Bob Price, aye.
Margaret Willie, aye?
Stu Hussey, aye.
Okay, so, and let me just say, and I should have said for the record, that, that Mr. Onishi is not here. He is in Honolulu, and that should be noted on the attendance as well. With the HSAC or Hawaii addressing state legislation. And he, in fact, I will read it. Fresh will be attending HSAC matters at the legislature on Friday. He also said that this is not a council meeting and we're not following the council rules. But I feel that it's just important to announce, be accountable, and not that there aren't times that one or another of us won't be absent, but I like the public to know why, what the reason is. Okay, thank you. So now I think we can entertain a motion on the format of the, allowing for a modified format of the minutes. And shall one of us restate that? Or Nina, do you have it where you would like to read what you had? Or not? Okay, Al, would you like to restate the motion?
You know, I think Mr. Hussey brought the subject up, and he should, you know.
Okay, you made the motion though, so if you would like to state what your motion is, or you'd like to withdraw, I'll allow Mr. Hussey to state it, but,
Why not Mr. Hussey? do it?
okay, so, go
You
ahead.
guys run a very high
With your
probability of
microphone
going brain
on.
dead.
I move
I want you to warn them.
We're
that
there.
from, or in further meetings of this task force, minutes
You will
be
lose 10
generated
IQ points if you sit through the
that
whole
reflect
meeting.
who is present,
2 for entering the room.
the
If you make it to gavel.
items of action taken,
I'm sure they think we're bugging.
and other matters
They know
that
that, that's okay.
meet the typical
You're right.
Robert's
No,
Rules
I'm
of
just
Orders
listening to last
definition
night's
of
conversation when they-
minutes,
If they get to it.
which would,
It's
Working on the
40
document.
minutes on minutes. I
If
mean,
I
we're
can
allowed to
add
have
the
all at
point
this
that
point, I think.
any public input,
If
we
Lincoln was here,
appreciate
he would help.
A little
a
modeling.
verbatim transcript.
It helps keep everybody above board.
Second.
Very real. Very
All
real.
in favor? Oh, we need do we need a roll call on this? No. Yeah, is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, thank you very much, and we appreciate all you. If there's any questions that come up, just let us know. So, moving on to item E, old business. And this is follow-up reports from Finance Department on consultants report items 27, 30, and 32. And I will start with what is item 27, and I would like if someone would read in actually what it says for item 27, if you